Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast, and this is Voices Behind the Crime, the people, the pain, the truth. Open and honest discussions about true crime, survivors, victims, and the impact. This is a space where victims, survivors, authors, and those closest to the case can share stories that matter without glorifying harm and without losing sight of the people behind the headline.
Good evening, listeners. I'm Amy Shandon, and welcome to our True Crime segment. You never know where the conversation leads us, so let's find out. Thank you for joining us, and can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Howard Frank. I am New York City born and bred, a journalist turned true crime writer. I also write scientific content.
Oh, cool. So your scientific stuff, is that nonfiction?
It's all nonfiction, yes.
Nice. You have a background in that?
I do have a science background, but full-time I work for a scientific instruments company. So my job is to kind of document the journey and discoveries of the scientists that use our instruments.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty cool.
I've gotten to interview a couple of Nobel Prize winners, as a matter of fact.
Wow, that's very exciting. So you said you were a journalist and then you do true crime. So what got you into writing true crime?
Well, as a journalist, one of my beats was the crime beat. And I met some interesting people and came across some interesting stories along the way. And those are the ones that people seem to be the most interested in, the crime stories. And I had an interest in writing about it, but not from the typical point of view of action and bam, bam, pow, pow,
Right.
but really to get into the psychology of the perpetrator and the people surrounding the event and understand what's going through their heads.
I like that because I've read a lot of true crime, and everybody has their own writing style, but there are some books that come out that are just read like a police report, and it's perfectly fine. That's their style, but I like to know what happens, kind of behind what's written in the story. Never glorify the convict. You know, pay honor to the victims or the survivors. Not every true crime a person dies. I know I had my own true crime situation 20 years ago. So, but so oh, okay, now I'm lost. All right. So when so okay, so you went from journalist to reporting crime and things like that. But what really made you say, okay, I'm going to write this book about true crime?
My editor,
Oh,
I had written a true crime book. He liked it, and he thought this would be a great topic. I also lived in the area where this occurred. This was the largest manhunt in U.S. history for a top 10 FBI most wanted criminal. So it was a big story. It was a national story, but it was about 15 years ago.
You want to elaborate a little bit more on your story?
Well, the name of the book is Lying in Wait, Anatomy of a Domestic Terrorist. And it's about a man who ambushed two state troopers in front of the state trooper barracks in Pennsylvania, in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. And then he went on the run.
I think I remember that. I live in upstate New York, so it sounds very familiar. I mean, I can't wait to read it.
It was a national story.
Yeah.
He was on the run for 48 days, hiding in the woods.
Yes. Okay.
The woods in the Poconos are very dense and uneven terrain, and he was a survivalist.
Oh, well, that makes it even better, right?
Yeah, or worse.
Yeah, yeah. So he killed 2 state troopers.
Well, he
Why?
killed one. He killed one, and he badly wounded another, to the extent where the other one had to have his leg amputated, and he was very critically wounded. Why is the big question that I try to answer in the book. And I'll give you the simple answer, but it's very layered and very dense. He had an upbringing by a military father who was a Vietnam era major. And he never saw action in Vietnam. He served in Europe, but he spun these tales of stolen valor about things he did in Vietnam, which weren't true.
Mhm.
He also was an anti-government type of person, which in that generation is not unusual because
Yeah,
the Vietnam War was not very popular.
yeah. I know a lot of soldiers that came home were not treated with respect, and
No.
majority of military homeless people happen to have served in Vietnam because it was, yeah, they just were treated terribly. They're not like somebody coming home from Korea or World War II, but because it was Vietnam, there was this stigma that had nothing to do with the soldiers, just the war itself, or I should say police action itself.
Right. Well, I'm old enough to have lived through that period, although I didn't serve. I was a little too young for that, but it was a very uh, tense time, and people were mostly against the war
Yeah.
at that time. And so it was not a popular war.
No, that's for sure.
So his father spun these tales. He also hated the government, and I, I shouldn't use the word brainwash, but
That's fine.
taught his son to hate the government also. And his son thought that he would start a revolution. Eric Frayne, that is, would start a revolution by shooting these 2 state troopers, Pennsylvania state troopers.
Did he, was his intention just to shoot any law enforcement, or were these troopers specifically targeted?
No, they weren't specifically targeted. He wanted the state troopers because they were symbolic. Their uniform was symbolic of the government, and he wanted to take a strike at the government. So that was his main motivation. There was a lot of pathology going on there.
Yeah, sounds like it. And unfortunately, when children um, are literally, they're more susceptible when they're little to be brainwashed and want to believe their parents, what their parents say. Even if a child was abused all of his life, he still um, was looking for some recognition from his parent. And um, I don't know if he was abused, but it sounds like he was at least abused mentally and psychologically to where he grew up. And oh, let's just kill the first people I see that represent the government.
Well, he wasn't just abused verbally, but he was abused physically as well. His father was a drinker and very violent. And so he was beaten and things like that. But he was really brainwashed. And he
Yeah.
became fascinated with the military and became a military reenactor. But he chose Serbian uniforms to wear and to adopt the persona of a Serbian fighter, which represented the underdog, which he believed reflected his persona as an underdog. So he studied military tactics, and the police, through their investigations, learned that he also studied evasion tactics well before this crime was committed, so he could evade the police for as long as possible.
Sounds like he had a lot of it planned out, at least. Maybe if he didn't focus on them in general, but he put his sights on the state troopers barracks. I'm assuming that's where he had shot him. The barracks.
Yes, in front of the barracks.
Yeah, so he probably had that was his sight, and whoever he saw walk outside the door wearing a uniform, that's probably what he did. Was his when he shot them, was it close range or?
It was 83 yards. So a lot of people called him a marksman, but I spoke to one former state trooper who happened to be a sniper in Vietnam, and he laughed and said, "That is not a marksman. 83 yards is a short distance." He says anybody could make that shot. And one of his shots were off the mark.
Mm.
So, he wasn't that great a marksman, but he was a gun person, and he owned a lot of guns.
Yeah, so
including a sniper rifle, a Yugoslavian sniper rifle.
oh, geez. Wow. But
He played the role. He really played the role of that Serbian underdog, and had the Serbian uniform, Serbian cigarettes. He adopted that persona completely.
was he kind of like, well, first I'm going to ask, was his father still alive when he did this?
Yes, he's still alive now. And
Proud of his son?
Freeman actually did not know that his father's tales were lies until his trial.
Oh, did that change the relationship between father and son?
That I don't know, but I'm sure the relationship disappeared once he committed this crime.
Probably, yeah.
The family just kind of shielded themselves, closed their drapes, changed their phone numbers, and withdrew from society.
Yeah.
I reached out to them, but they didn't ever respond. I also reached out to Eric Frein in prison, but he didn't respond either.
Oh. So so he did it enough to go to trial. What was his sentence?
He got the death sentence.
Oh.
But in Pennsylvania, the death sentence is there's a moratorium on the death sentence. We have Democratic governors, the last couple of governors, and the last few, and they decided to put a moratorium on the death sentence. So nobody's being executed now, and they just sit on death row and go through the appeals process until their death warrant is issued. And Eric Frein's death warrant has not been issued yet.
Wow.
He's still going through the appeals.
Yeah. Isn't there a limit of how many appeals a death row inmate can have, or any prisoner?
I don't think there's a limit on death row, but he has not exhausted his mandatory appeals. So he still has opportunities to appeal his sentence.
Okay.
Although it's not a way I'd want to live.
No, me neither.
But they wouldn't execute him no matter how he felt, because they're just not doing it.
Yeah. I know New York itself kind of would be death penalty, then not, and death penalty and not. And I mean, I don't know. capital punishment is something that I think that everyone should have all those, the ability to have appeals. I believe some people deserve to suffer and be alive in prison, and then there are others that just shouldn't even breathe. But that's just really a good thing.
Right.
So,
Well, the DA made an interesting statement about that. He
Mhm.
said that you don't go to prison to get punished. Prison is the punishment.
Right.
So once you're incarcerated, that's considered being punished. It's not like they subject you to hardships to punish you.
Right. Yeah. Just not having freedom, having your routine set for you. And of course it varies from prison to prison and the security level of the prison. Um, so I could see that. And if the person felt any remorse or any guilt, then that would be extra punishment, I guess.
Well, I don't think he's remorseful.
Doesn't sound like it.
I think he's indignant. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So-
the way he acted during the trial and during his questioning and his confession. He actually did give a confession. He wrote a diary while he was fleeing the police
Yeah.
for 48 days, keeping track of his everyday routine. And what I found the most surprising was that in that diary, he admitted that he couldn't believe that he had evaded police for so long, that he himself was surprised that
Yeah.
he evaded them. And but he was trained in that. He trained himself. He was self-trained. So he would use water crossings to throw off the dogs, his scent from the dogs and things like that. He wore diapers so he didn't move at night because they used infrared imaging and thermal imaging from the sky to try to find him in the woods. And what they ended up finding were a lot of bear.
Yeah.
They would get a call that we have movement in the woods, and it could be him, and they would deploy, and it would end up being a bear.
So the infrared was just looking for movement, or because I know that some like it's like they look for the heat of a body. So was he able to, like, I don't know, cover himself with something that would make him not show the heat of his body temperature?
Well, he was able to see where the patrols were. I mean, these surveillance devices were in helicopters. They deployed a tethered blimp that hovered over the area and had surveillance. I think it had thermal imaging. And he was able to evade all that by keeping track. And he could watch, he said he watched them from as close as a football field, 100 yards, searching for him in the woods. This search was not just the Pennsylvania State Police. It was the federal government, the Marshal Service, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. The FBI was involved. So there were a lot of agencies involved in this manhunt. They really wanted him because he went after a law enforcement officer.
Oh yeah, that gives them extra incentive to want him to be caught. So how did he get caught?
Well, he was hiding at an abandoned resort, and specifically at an airfield at an abandoned resort. He was hiding in a hangar, and during the day, the Marshal Service group was assigned a grid area that included that abandoned resort. Eric Freen went to go to the bathroom, to go to the woods, to go to the bathroom. And they cited him, big open area. And he gave up very timidly.
So he didn't try to find it interesting that he didn't try to shoot his way out, or,
Yeah. He wasn't armed when he was caught. He left all his arms in the hangar. He just went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Running. But he had several firearms with him. He was a dangerous person.
Yeah. That's okay.
Interestingly, the community at the very beginning was, go get him. Let's get this guy. This is a terrible thing. But there were about 1,000 law enforcement officers in the area securing, boundaries and borders and searching people and looking at identification. And after a while, the public grew to resent law enforcement because law enforcement was captivating them in their area. They were keeping them from moving around. And so there was a resentment there. Of course, law enforcement was doing it for safety reasons.
Yeah, and they're doing their job. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. And you never know, because, someone could be hiding in someone's back seat, or somebody is hiding, knows him and is hiding him, still. And some people may not even realize that they're helping him. So I can see where it would be frustrating, but I would also, with that, if that was me, I would be concerned about my well-being, because he's out there and maybe he's not aiming at civilians, but doesn't mean a civilian can't get caught in the crossfire or something. So
yeah, and they didn't really know that at the time. This only came out afterwards, that he was hell-bent on going after the government. But there was resentment in the area, and he was very elusive. 48 days with 1,000 people and high-tech measures being used to try to find him, and he was able to evade them for a long time. So he was a dangerous guy.
Oh, definitely. He's, it's lucky they didn't find him in the hangar. They found him, having to use the bathroom, and because if they found him in the hangar, it could have ended a different way because of his
That's
weapons.
right. That's right, because he had weapons there. That's exactly right.
Yeah. He was, nature calls, and and he gets caught.
And he was so relaxed about it that he just went out without any arms to go to the bathroom. He had a pocket knife on him. That was it.
Wow. That's incredible. And I know that it can't bring back the state trooper who passed away, or remove the injuries from the other state trooper. And I want to honor them as well. So, they're just probably family men doing their job, and going out to their car to, get ready to go out for the day in their job, be on their way. And then all heck breaks loose. So.
Well, the one that was killed was a corporal, and he was a family man, and he lost his life. The one who was badly injured was an ultra marathoner. So it was particularly sad because he lost his ability to run. Now he participates in assisted endurance races. He's a very strong person.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, he's a very strong individual.
great. I'm really glad for that. Um, because losing, all of a sudden you can't do things that you used to do. And he probably watched it. I don't know if his, it was his partner or whoever, um, the man who passed away, if he, you know, died instantly, or it's, the man who survived had to watch him die. I don't know that, but I think either way, even with his own injuries, that had to affect him as well.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I had actually met him at an event before the trial, so he couldn't talk about what happened. But I
Right.
met him as a reporter and chatted with him for a while. And he was a very humble, sweet man, but obviously incredibly impacted by this whole set of events, and haunted, I'm sure, for the rest of his life.
So that injury probably prevented him from continuing on in law enforcement.
I'm sorry.
Did that injury prevent him from continuing to be a state trooper?
Well, he continued for a couple of years, and then he retired and had his leg amputated. They couldn't save the leg because his vascular system was destroyed by the sniper's bullet. So it was just a dying limb, and he made the brave decision to have it amputated.
Yeah, that must have been something very difficult for him.
I met him before the amputation, and he was struggling to get around. Yeah, it was
Well,
very tragic.
no, it's just so, I have the highest respect for our military and our first responders. And um, I just, you know, it, it kills me when people are targeting law enforcement. It kills me when there's like, every time I turn around or listen, see a news article, there's another mass shooting somewhere, and it's just terrible and heartbreaking and scary as well. Because you know, some people make the mistake that, oh, this couldn't happen to me. Well, I thought that 20 years ago, and then my husband tried to kill me, so I know that anything can happen.
Oh,
So yeah, I had my own little true crime thing. He did go to jail, and then eventually, and then after he got out of jail, well, prison, I should say, not jail. He died 9 months later. So uh, I just wanted me and my boys to be safe, and I made sure of it. But and my kids just thought when he passed that they were safer, and that is the truth. But I really, I really want to thank you for being on the show, and I hope you will come back and join me again. I'd love to listen to more of your stories. And thank you, audience, for listening. Feel free to comment on this show or any show. And join me again next week. And if you want to check out my work, just Google me. I'm Amy Shannon. Be safe, be well, and always be kind.
Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. If you wish to be a guest on the show, you can go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast and schedule your pre-recording. Please follow this podcast on Spotify, even if you listen to it on other streaming sites. Also, this podcast is on every first Monday and last Monday of the month at 7 p.m. and every Sunday at 6 and 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Amy Shannon. Be safe, be well, and always be kind.